And actually, we can go ahead and start the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance, if everybody please join me. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Recording in progress.
Okay, I'd like to welcome everybody to the work session for March 11th. I'd ask everybody to please turn off their cell phones and electronic devices. And with that, I'll ask Tamara to read the notice for the public hearing number 1 on the solar moratorium.
Notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held by the town board of the town of Lewiston on the 11th day of March 2024 at 6 p.m. at the town hall, 1375 Bridge Road, Lewiston, New York, on the adoption of a proposed local law.
Go ahead.
Entitled, a local law establishing a 6-month moratorium on new applications, approvals, and or construction or installation of solar energy systems in the solar farms. The purpose of this local law is to amend the code to place a 6-month moratorium on the processing, permitting, and or construction of ground-mounted solar panels and solar farms within the town of Lewiston to allow time for the research, development, and adoption of a solar overlay to the town of Lewiston zoning code together and with any appropriate amendments to the town of Lewiston solar code, which regulates these types of uses. This time will give the town board the ability to complete all reasonable and necessary review, study, analysis, and if warranted, revision to the town of Lewiston zoning code as may be necessary to promote and preserve the health, safety, and welfare of the town of Lewiston and its residents. The complete text of said law is on file at the office of the town clerk and is available for review by any interested person during business hours or can be emailed upon request. At such public hearing, all persons interested who wish to be heard will be heard.
Thank you. Now, anybody wish to speak in regards to the solar moratorium?
I'm sorry, is this the only chance there'll be to do that?
For the solar moratorium,
Oh, okay.
then we're going into short-term rentals. There's 2 public hearings tonight.
Okay.
So just to make sure nobody wants to speak in regards to the solar moratorium. Okay, can I get a motion to close the public hearing? Motion to close. Second. All in favor? Aye. Motion carried. And the public hearing number 2, short-term rentals. You're on again, Tim.
Please take notice that a public hearing will be held by the town of Lewiston, Niagara County, New York, on the 11th day of March 2024, commencing at 6 o'clock p.m. at the town hall, 1375 Bridge Road, Lewiston, New York, on the adoption of a local law regulating the use of transient or short-term rentals within the town of Lewiston. Said law is intended to regulate the unauthorized prohibited short-term rentals of non-owner occupied properties within the town of Lewiston and to amend various sections of the zoning code to modernize the definition of the bed and breakfast establishment. Define the transient or short-term rental land use and to identify and define within the zoning code where and under what circumstances said uses would be allowed. The complete text of said law is on file at the office of the town clerk and is available for review by any interested person during business hours. At such public hearing, all persons interested who wish to be heard will be heard.
Thank you. We have a lot of people that want to speak, so there will be a 3-minute time limit, and I will start with Francine Delmonte.
Thank you. Good afternoon, town board members. Can you hear me?
Yes.
And residents, town Lewiston residents. I've appeared before this board a couple of times to express my strong opposition against short-term rentals, so you're all familiar with that. I've had an opportunity to go online. I printed out the resolution that you had posted on the website. It did raise just a couple of concerns that I don't know if there's a give and take on this or if there's any, conversation or discussion, but there's 3 things in particular that, and based on my layman's look at the resolution, they could be answered, and I'm just not that aware of it. But a couple of things. I think that an issue of this nature probably should have been drafted by, and I think the town board should have hired outside counsel to draft this resolution, because it has been something of a lot of conversation and concern within the community. Having said that, I do have some concerns also with the number of penalties or the fines. Now, under current code, I guess the zoning code, it can be up to $5,000 per infraction, if I'm reading that correctly. From my perspective, you should have a minimum. There should be a minimum and a maximum in terms of fines and penalties that can be assessed against an owner that is in violation of this particular proposed resolution and the laws that exist today. I would suggest that the minimum should be $1,000 a day at a minimum. To suggest that if the ceiling is $5,000, the local courts or the jurisdictions that would have oversight on this, they can assess a $50 fine. I mean, that makes no sense to me. And I know legislation can stipulate floor and ceiling in terms of penalties be assessed against a violation, whether it be civil or criminal. To use the $5,000 limit, from my perspective, gives a lot of flexibility to whoever would be involved in these types of proceedings to have a very low ball fine against a violator. So I would encourage you to actually put in minimum and maximum fines on this on a daily basis. The third thing that concerns me the most is enforceability. From what I understand and from what I've read, it could be the town prosecutor, it could be the building inspector, it could be the town attorney. I don't know if the town is fully staffed well enough, honestly, to oversee and enforce this the way that it should be. The way I'm reading it, it's going to be incumbent more on the residents, obviously, to report violators and violations, which, I guess isn't so bad, but who's really going to enforce this in a way that will stop that activity if it should occur? And I guess that concerns me as much or as more of anything else. So those are the 3 of the things that I think could be improved upon this resolution: penalties, enforceability, and having had experience in law in government, I know that legislation can be written where sometimes there are a lot of loopholes that lead to lawsuits. I'm looking for this town board to put together a resolution, a law, a zoning code, whatever you want to call it, that won't subject the town or even others to have to engage in lawsuits. So I think it's incumbent upon all of you to make sure this is as airtight as possible.
Thank you. And you can always contact our building inspector for a lot of those questions. So, okay. John Murniak.
John Murniak from Ridge Road. I agree with what Mrs. Delmonte said, okay? And in addition, I do want to point out that I think that a law is very important, and I would encourage the board to backbone to pass a law that strictly prohibits short-term rentals. And I had said before, my concern has always been, I know my neighbors on both sides of my house. I don't wanna be in a situation where there's people in and out next to me that I don't know. You know, years ago, and I told Tim this earlier today, you know, we had a big vegetable garden behind our house. People 3 doors over behind were having a graduation party or something. All of a sudden, I look out the back, and there's all these people in our garden. We got chicken wire fence around it. They're in our garden. So I go back there. I said, what are you doing? They said, well, we saw your garden. We came over here to look, and we were sampling some of your berries. They were picking raspberries and strawberries and eating them. I said, get out of here. You know, that's not right. You know? And just one other quick thing from years ago. This happened with my younger sister when she was younger. The people next door had company. And they had a child, and they saw my sister out playing. And that girl came over to play with my sister, and they were running around in the backyard. And that other girl ran into a building, broke one of her front teeth, a permanent front teeth off. Now, that was a long time ago, so I don't know from a legal standpoint how that ever played out. But today I would really be concerned about being sued by an act like that. That's my opinion.
Thank you, John. Steve Lyle.
Steve Lau on River Road. I came in here and I thought, well, I'll take a look at this, and I don't understand any of it. And I just wanted to express my opinion that as far as R1's concerned, we don't need any overnight rentals, and it's just not where we came to live. And I've heard some of the problems that some of the people have had, and I'm just against it. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Harold Hopkins.
Any proposal to outlaw or outright ban the operation of short-term rentals within residential districts in the town of Lewiston appears extreme. Essentially, it is unconstitutional to deny American citizens their private property rights. The town of Lewiston was, and in measure continues to be, agricultural in nature. During the Industrial Revolution of the 50s and 60s, it became more of a bedroom community for factory workers in Niagara Falls and Buffalo. As decades passed, the town's economy grew as it embraced becoming more of a seasonal tourist destination. Recently, it has become clear that common sense regulation is required to address the explosion of Airbnbs here and across the country, but it remains a local issue to be addressed. If town concerns are regulation and enforcement, why not limit operation of short-term rentals to tax-paying residents of the town or corresponding jurisdiction? By so doing, you maintain leverage over the actual operation as well as maintain the sense of neighborhood or community integrity. Residents by nature must get along and work with their neighbors in order to successfully manage a business in the neighborhood. I strongly oppose corporations or foreign nationals being allowed to purchase and operate such an enterprise. Restrict the ownership and operation of short-term rentals to folks who have skin in the game, your own town constituents. By limiting development of short-term rentals to industrial districts, you deny the majority of taxpayers and voters their private property right to invest and develop their property as they deem appropriate. Such an unconstitutional approach will likely end up resolved in the court system, creating years of acrimony, division, and non-compliance amongst town residents. Common sense compromise is in order to maintain domestic tranquility. Please don't argue that this problem can't be managed or regulated given existing resources. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Amy Whittrill.
47 and 26 Lower River Road. The town of Lewiston code for decades has banned short-term rentals like Airbnbs. I disagree with the proposal to partially lift the STR ban in commercially zoned areas of the town because we already have enough STRs in the village, almost 50 of them. However, the biggest problem with this draft is that it lifts the ban in residential areas and may imply we never had a ban. This may not be obvious to the board, but it sure is obvious to your attorney, whose law practice relies heavily on the blessings of county political bosses. It's no wonder certain illegal operators have and continue to accept reservations for months past June 1st. The reason for the loopholes in your draft and why the town has not enforced its ban is perhaps because the most lucrative illegal Airbnbs are hosted by a property management company whose owners are associated with big political donors, very big. The town repeatedly promised to enforce its ban last summer, but did not. Then it passed a moratorium that effectively prevented residents from enforcing the ban themselves. Town Code Section 360-14B states that any person assisting in a violation is liable for fines. But Mr. Bax apparently asserts the property managers are not violators because they are, quote, employees of the property owners. That's ridiculous. And employees are liable under our code anyway. So I worry what other fairy tales the board has heard from council. This draft waives the board's right to fines for outstanding notices of violation. Worse, it expressly lifts the ban through June 1st, which means, among other problems, violators may skate through Labor Day. This draft doesn't even immediately prohibit offering or booking reservations past June 1st. And fines are much too low to be a deterrent or cover the town's potential enforcement costs in many cases. So to the three conscientious board members, please seek comment from a specially qualified, experienced, and independent attorney to help you modify the draft to actually achieve compliance by June 1st. I'm providing additional comments to the clerk at this time. And also, I agree that when you have an owner of this type of operation actually living in the neighborhood, it makes a big difference. So thank you for your very thoughtful comments. Thank you.
Rita Foreman.
It's all right.
Okay. Taylor Crystal. Is that right, Crystal?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, Taylor Crystal, 125 South Fifth Street, Lewiston, New York. I'm an owner and operator of Lewiston Vacation Rentals. Been operating for about 10 years in this area. Probably a lot of you guys don't know me. Haven't had a lot of issues over the last 10 years, so now. Yeah, we've had 6,000 stays and 9,000 guests in this area, without any of the concerns listed in this proposed law being an actual concern. So the facts, last summer when I saw one of my buddies sent me a photo of the Sentinel and seen the police report of someone getting called out to River Road, I kind of chuckled and I was like, what's going on? And then I came home and I talked to the police and, they said it's almost like a waste of resources. It's, people crying wolf, the police kept coming down, and they can't find it, like they haven't found anything. So I'm just concerned that like what was listed in the proposed law is just not a true representation of what's been going on. I haven't had any, the police hasn't come out to any of the properties last 10 years. A lot of my neighbors love talking to the guests. They're all in a residential area. That's where Airbnbs happen. They don't happen in the middle of nowhere. And yeah, I just want to convey that. That's, yeah, I think that's it.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. And I just want to say, we had some technical difficulty, but Rob Morial, who's on vacation, is on our Zoom meeting, so he is here listening to what everybody has to say. Abigail Stein.
Put it down.
Got it. I was not a singer. I'm at 4923 Big Missy Drive. I sit up here before. I'm a resident and a realtor and also a host, a short-term rental. And I just wanted to say that I read through the law and I didn't think that the area that they're allowed in really makes sense. It doesn't seem like a very desirable place for people to want to stay. I think maybe looking at what the village has done and expanding like its walkable areas, like maybe a village, like a mile out from the village should be allowed, or you know, something like that. Location wise, it didn't totally make sense. And just, you know, I can't see people wanting to come here to stay in a rural area as much. It just doesn't really add up to me. And then there's also only 10 short-term rentals, so I thought maybe if you wanted to limit any new ones made and just like grandfathering in the ones that are already running that, you know, have no issues, could be an option too. And again, if you do plan on making a committee or a group to hear, you know, opinions, I did sit on the Village of Lewiston committee member in order to make laws for the village, and I'd love to be a part of it if you're going to do it for the town as well.
Thank you. Janet Rowe.
Good evening, I'm Janet Road, I live at 4773 East Eddy, and I am full support of an ordinance against short-term rentals in the town of Lewiston. And I agree with this lady over here when I read this proposal that there is no means to enforce it, and I am asking the board to look at that closely. And I also agree with her that it has to be substantial in order to be enforced. My other question to the board is how are you going to enforce it? Is it going to be through the board, through the zoning board? Is it going to be the building department? How are you going to enforce this? My other question to you is we already have existing short-term rentals in the town of Lewiston, and my question to you is, aren't they illegal according to the statute of Lewiston already on the books? And what are we going to do about that? The other thing I want to say, and it's a statement, it's a personal statement, and it's to these people that are supporting short-term rentals, to myself as a homeowner, you are asking me to give up my livelihood, my sense of safety, my community of my neighborhood, so that you can make a buck, and I find that offensive.
Thank you. Annie Edwards.
Annie Edwards, 1085 Escarpment Drive. We're here basically to support. We're very pro Airbnb. We fall sort of in a different category. We actually live in our home and we rent through Airbnb single rooms per night. Now, I think my question is, and we've flogged this horse, our neighbors are vindictive. They are malicious. They have been since they moved in, right? So what I want to know, and from what I understand from the proposal is, moving forward, like enough's enough. They haven't proved it, they haven't given us any police reports. If they're that afraid in their house, why don't we have police reports? We've never had a police come to our door. The next thing would be, when it comes to the voting, or when it comes to the neighborhood, you're gonna take into consideration these neighbors on either side of us and what they are, accusing us of, and how horrible our Airbnb is. To give you an idea, these neighbors, sitting around and like, I don't know what, they decided to call Airbnb, and they told them this huge story, and they told them that our home was corrupt, and for the safety of their clients, they shouldn't be staying at 1085 Escarpment. We got knocked off Airbnb. We had to prove ourselves innocent. There were police reports, and Airbnb, the police said, this is a joke. So these are the kind of people at the level that they're operating. What gives us a chance if you guys were going to contact them to give us the go-ahead? Another thing is we were never told, because we were non-compliant because of our neighbors. We appeared in court here twice. The last time the judge threw it out, he goes, this is ridiculous. But all along, we've not been able to post our Airbnb. So I see it on here now, we could have been until June 1st. We weren't aware of that. So as I stand here right now, we're 7 months out of income for our Airbnb. Not that we're mega millions, but that's a lot. And moving forward, if we can't get something hopefully in place very quickly, we're losing our potential clients, like April 8th. There isn't a place available for April 8th except our places because we're not allowed to run them. So, in closing, that's about it. I just want to know the validity that would be applied to the fact that our neighbors have to agree to us running an Airbnb, because they've already made their statements quite clear. And with the town then, would the town back us? If you came out and you did your inspection and everything was cool, so what I understand is we would take your paper, your placard, whatever, and stick it on our door. So you think that's going to put the fearmongers at ease, or will we have to continue with this harassment? So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Robert Boreanaz.
Is this microphone working?
Yeah. Sometimes if you stand out in the hall, you can hear it perfectly clear. We had somebody in here, but go ahead. We can hear you.
Good. Thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Robert Boreanaz. I'm an attorney here in Western New York with the law firm Lipsitz, Green, Chimay, Cambria. We've been representing clients on land use and zoning issues for decades. Local Law 1/2024 is a classic case of a municipality eliminating one's property rights to use, control, and allow others to use their own property. As currently proposed, Local Law 1/2024 violates both state and federal laws and constitutions. As a preliminary matter, you've indicated that Council Member Rob Morales is on the phone. Morial.
He's on a Zoom meeting.
Mr. Morial, as a preliminary matter, must withdraw himself from consideration of this local law. And the reason for that is because his daughter would benefit from its passage. If Local Law 1/2024 were passed, it would provide this council member daughter with a competitive advantage. She owns a short-term rental on Center Street in the village. If the proposed town law is passed, it would significantly reduce the number of short-term rentals in the area and therefore reduce competition for the council member's daughter. The proposed law would therefore drive up costs of short-term rentals in the area to her benefit. As a result, this council member must recuse himself from consideration of this law. The proposed law rests upon a faulty foundation. The proposed law falsely states circumstances to justify its implementation. Specifically, the proposed law falsely states that the proliferation of short-term rentals of non-owner-occupied properties has resulted in significant negative impacts to the health, safety, and welfare of residents in the town. That's what the proposed law is based upon. This statement is false because board members have already, on the record, acknowledged they are not aware of any significant negative impact on the health, safety, and welfare of residents resulting from short-term rentals within the town. Some of you are on record admitting that these are only concerns and purely speculative. The proposed local law falsely states that the modification of the zoning law is required due to safety concerns. Again, town board members are already on record publicly stating there is no documentation of any safety concerns raised by short-term rentals within the town. The proposed law relies not on actual data, but rather on feelings that short-term rentals could possibly bring: noise, damage to personal property, rummaging of gardens, poor upkeep, large gatherings, parking issues, or late-night disturbances. Where are the police records? What records has this town reviewed and relied upon to demonstrate that short-term rentals actually cause disproportionate disturbances in this town? If the town is going to change zoning laws and people's use of property based upon unsubstantiated fears of disturbances, then perhaps the town should consider banning graduation parties in the summer, family gatherings, because God forbid, those parties may possibly result in late-night disturbances, large crowds, unwanted people attending in neighborhoods, and parking issues. The village of Lewiston has significantly more short-term rental properties than the town does. The village has taken a much more sensible approach. The village has decided not to eliminate or restrict short-term rentals, but rather regulate them in a sensible way by monitoring and enforcing when short-term rental property owners, in fact, do present disturbances or problems.
About 20 seconds.
Don't pass this local law on this faulty foundation, as it will result in litigation.
Thank you. Janet Copeland?
Hi there, Jenny Copeland, 4736 Lower River Road. Do you know how many short-term rentals will be permitted to continue operating and welcome guests to Lewiston with this proposed law? Do you guys know how many? With your law, how many will continue to operate?
This is basically just for public comment about the law, not necessarily back and forth.
Okay.
So if you'd like that.
So the answer is 1. So you will allow 1 short-term rental to operate. You will close 9 down, which it's not 500. It's not a big, severe issue. It's 9. You're taking 9 and closing them. And you'll be permitting 1 to stay open. Stopping all short-term rentals by June 1st, which is 80 days from tomorrow, is not an adequate balance as stated in the law. It will result in 9 short-term rental owners, homeowners having to contact hundreds of travelers and telling them the town of Lewiston does not want them and does not want their business and that they need to go somewhere else. Despite your attempt to welcome guests with approving short-term rentals in business zones only, these zones are highly undesirable. Guests do not want to stay near the Bridge Commission or on a vacant lot by the thruway, and they certainly do not want to stay by Modern Disposal. Choosing these areas goes against your comprehensive plan to welcome tourists to the area. Mr. Jacoby, you are stated in the newspaper assuring the planning board that residents who invested their life earnings into homes will be protected. My husband and I are those people. We invested our life savings and more into a beautiful historic home that I love and want to share and spend my time with in the future. All of the homeowners, all 10 of us, of short-term rentals have done the same. Like I said, there are only 10, most of which have been operating for over 10 years. Short-term rentals are not a problem, they are an asset. The law can mandate local ownership just like Wilson did. So I think they did a beautiful job incorporating the 45-minute restriction. We are, and all 10 of us are within 45 minutes of the property. It's something that is an appropriate compromise. My property allows inclusion to the waterfront in the town of Lewiston. The only there is no facility that people can come to the area and enjoy the waterfront in the town of Lewiston. Someone who may be less fortunate, they can't afford a major house on the lower Niagara River Road, they can come and spend a weekend with their family. They can rent it out and share, in my case, a nice large home that can accommodate 15 people. That's moms and dads and grandpas and grandkids and, the uncle from across the country. It's a great meeting spot, and it's an opportunity to share with people from really all over the world. I don't see anything wrong with it. We want to play by the rules. We want to be accommodating. Write any rule down. We'll follow it. Come right now and see the place. You'll see all the fire exits. You'll see the smoke alarms, the CO2. We have 2.5 acres. There's plenty of room. We can put up fences. We can put up trees. Whatever you guys want, we can do to accommodate. And I think that it's a huge asset. Again, it's not something that is overdone. People are taking advantage. There's 10. Just let us continue to do what we're doing. And check my notes here.
Thank you, Jen. That's
I'm up, okay.
Yeah,
I was gonna keep going until I got to that. So there we go.
Thank you. Anthony Capicelli, if I'm saying that right?
Yes. 2005 James Drive. I just want to make a few main points here. One, similar to what you said, there aren't many of them operating right now, and it feels like this law is more coming from a noisy few rather than the general consensus of the people that we live with. I know in my neighborhood, there are some that operate that you wouldn't even know that that's what's going on there. And I know people have said, we want to know who our neighbors are. Well, I would argue that most people that own their Airbnbs around here know their neighbors and treat them well and have relationships with them, and they know who owns and takes care of the properties. I understand there are people that come to stay in those houses that they may not know, but many of them have operated for years without any sort of issue or complaint prior to this. I also find it unfair to punish people that have already made the decision to invest in the town that we live in. I know people have said this, but I don't find it right that they will now be forced to figure it out. I mean, these people that have invested hours of time and thousands or millions of dollars into these properties and now will be asked to stop doing what they've been doing successfully for years already. I just feel that these are beneficial to our town, and we have things like the river in our town that the only way to stay at them would be to allow short-term rentals in these areas. And it's one of the things that draw people to come here is the river and being close to the village if you can't get into an Airbnb in the village. And there's a lot of things that our town has to offer, but limiting the Airbnbs to non-desirable places, I don't feel is the right thing to do in order to bring people here. And as someone who has lots of family members from out of town, I love that they can come and stay and see the beautiful parts of the town that I live in and see why everyone here loves it so much. So, thanks.
Thank you. So there's one person online. Carrie Berge, are you there?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Go ahead. You're up.
Fantastic. Hello, my name is Carrie Berge. I live over on Port Center Road. I have been a host for over 7 years now. I divide my time between the two coasts and I rent out my home while I travel. There have been a lot of really great points brought up tonight. Everything from the lack of verified, evidence suggested in the code you guys wrote up, in addition to the number of rentals going to be impacted by this today, and whether or not this really warrants this extreme censure of the short-term rentals. It'll ultimately reduce tourist income for local businesses, as well as I employ a lot of people. I mean, my property is probably one of the nicest ones on the street, and you wouldn't know it was an Airbnb because it is still also my home. I think that while you are considering moving forward with this, that it is really important to protect homeowners who are not short-term rental owners against these future incidences. And I also believe it's entirely possible to do it without eliminating short-term rentals altogether, like the village and like regulation that a few others have mentioned. I think it's also really important that we avoid any exclusionary zoning ordinances. Okay, these include certain types of land uses from communities and ones that are at risk for regulating racial and economic diversity. And our short-term rentals really bring that in. And, it also creates potential for discrimination against a lot of protected parties whose livelihood depends on short-term rental income. So as, moving forward and really consider how important it is that everyone be protected and looked out for in this, we can't just exclude those who are making money and just assume that they're making money at another expense. I think there's a lot of opportunity for everyone to come together and really have a conversation about how we can do it in a way that is supportive of both sides of this issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. Okay, with that, can I get a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion?
A motion and a second.
Before we vote,
Go ahead.
Mr. Banks, do we keep it open in order to modify or to?
You don't need to modify, and thank you for pausing for a second. Attorney Mindy Zoglin had also written a letter on behalf of Ms. Vitriol that she asked be included in the comments and for everyone's consideration. So I'll just circulate that for everyone also, bringing up some points and criticisms for your consideration.
That was submitted to the clerk, by the way, so it's on record.
Very good. But that should also be included as part of the public record. You don't need to keep it open in order to do the modification and to incorporate what you've heard tonight into what you would consider the final draft.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily saying that we want to do that, but there's been a lot of points brought up tonight. And, as long as we don't have to keep it open, so if we want to react or add or subtract or modify in some
You
way.
do not have to keep it open in order to do that. In fact, you would close it and then move on to making a modification. And then if it was a significant modification, you always have the prerogative to do another public hearing based on what you come up with.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, public hearing's closed. Moving on to the town board work session. Agenda approval, I have to add to the agenda. I'll wait a minute. We'll take a break here for a minute. Let everybody kind of leaving the Mr. Del Monte, we want to move on. I want to give everybody a minute. Okay, we're going to move forward with the meeting. On the agenda approval, I need to add April 8th, our April 8th board meeting, which we need to move, is the town hall will be closed on April 8th. So, that'll be under my agenda. Does anybody else have anything to add to the agenda? Okay, so, approval of the agenda as amended.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Approval of the meeting minutes from, the regular town board meeting on February 26th.
Motion for approval as presented.
All in favor? Aye. Motion carried. Abstract of claims, Councilwoman Carter.
Yes, for March 2024, 3/11, I move to approve the regular abstract of claims number 23-03781 through 23-03784, and number 24-00424 through 24-00476, and recommend payment in the amount of $717,569.83, plus a post-audit of $23,699.27, and I did audit these on Friday.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Motion carried. Department head statements. Tamara, anything from the clerk's office?
Yes, we received a letter from the Niagara Falls Country Club. It is a notice, that the Niagara Falls Country Club at 505 Mountain Drive, has applied for their alcoholic beverage license, for on-premises consumption at the halfway house and on-premises consumption for the beverage/golf cart.
Okay. No action needed to be taken on that. Anything else?
Nope, sorry.
Chief Private?
Just one thing, I want to thank the board for hosting the swearing in for the new officers again, for accommodating us, and also Jackie made us aware of recommendations from the insurance company regarding the department vehicles to redline them or put them out of service at 100,000 miles. She sent that to me. In reviewing our vehicles, we only have one that meets that criteria. It's got 130,000 miles. I don't try to keep miles off it. This would catch us up, so I am asking to replace that in accordance with the insurance company's recommendation. The cost would be a total of 47.
Hold on, Chief. I'm sorry. Can you ask me if you want to step outside? Thank you. I'm sorry, Chief, go ahead.
So the total would be $47,869.08. That's for swapping all the equipment over. That'd be for car 274 to replace car 274. I have spoken with Jackie, and she can take over as far as where the money will come from.
I'm recommending that we use the B fund balance to pay for this, car. Go into police equipment line from the B fund balance.
Yeah, we spoke as well, and I saw the recommendation from the insurance company.
I make a motion,
Okay.
to accept that and to go ahead with purchase according to this fund being available with our finance officer.
So, your approval to make the transfer tomorrow.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Anything else, Chief?
No, thank you.
Anything?
Well, I do have one more thing. We have a active shooter drill coming up, just in case you guys have calls, this week at Lewiston School, Eric Road School, and Colonial Road School.
What day?
Thursday.
Thursday. Okay. Jackie, you're on the agenda. Deputy Supervisor Gunner, anything? Dan Zano, anything? Jeffrey, you're on the agenda.
February 8th, the town received 2 bids for the Water Pollution Control Center SCADA project.
and we would like to accept the bid of O'Connell Electric for $1,387,158. They are the low bidder. Okay.
Can I make that motion with some discussion?
Sure. Make the motion.
I make the motion that we accept the little bid and move forward with the purchase, subject to our discussion.
We have a second. We have a motion and a second. Go ahead.
Are we okay with them, just two bidders on it?
It was public bid.
Oh,
So you only had two responses, so yeah.
That's on my only question.
Okay, anybody else have any questions? Okay, we have a motion and a second, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Tim, anything?
A lot going on. I won't bore you with all the stuff going on. It's a long night for you guys. So the main one, I'd like to invite the board out March 23rd, Saturday at 11 a.m. Starting at the senior center. We'll have our annual Easter egg hunt for the town. Tim Hortons is sponsoring us or helping out with the event as well. So if you guys can make it out on that Saturday, it'd be greatly appreciated.
Awesome, thank you.
What time is that, Tim?
11 a.m.
I think that's everybody. Mid-State couldn't be here tonight, and Melinda and Senior Center couldn't be here tonight. Let's see. Moving on to Supervisor Broderick. We have decided, the town clerk and myself, to close town hall on April 8th, due to the solar eclipse, and we have a board meeting that night on April 8th. So what I would like to do is make a motion to move our meeting to April 11th at 6 p.m. Yep, yeah, I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion a second. All in
Highway,
favor?
about highway and water and stuff be working?
No.
Okay.
There won't be. Yeah.
I was gonna say I had glasses for you, but you don't need them.
Well,
Gotta get your own now.
we, no, two got glasses, two got glasses. So we have a motion and a second, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Yeah. Now they work. And going on to our USI GASB 7475, actuarial evaluation services. Al, did you get a chance to look at that contract?
I don't believe that I did.
Okay.
I apologize.
It's the one, it's the annual renewal, that we have here. It seems to be the standard that we do every year. Jack, you wanna explain real quick what that covers?
GASB 75 is General Accounting Standard Board's rule, and we have to have an actuarial valuation of all of our retirement services. And this is a company that will do that for us, and we have used them in many years in the past. It's a 2-year contract. It's gone up $200 since our last contract. The total contract itself is only $6,000.
I am familiar with it, Mr. Supervisor. What I would suggest you do, just so I can get my eyes on it, is approve it subject to attorney approval,
Okay.
and I'll take a look at it this afternoon.
Can I get a motion?
I'll make that motion, that we approve it subject to attorney approval.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carried. Okay, and Jackie, your budget revisions?
Previously, I submitted one 2023 budget revision in your board packet, and tonight I asked for approval to process that budget revision.
Okay, your motion is
Make
presented.
that motion as presented in her paperwork.
Rob Morrell did call me this morning and review it with me.
Okay. We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. What I have, which was provided here, from Bob Lannon and GHD, is a, rendering of our Lower River Road Park, now called Riverfront Park. It is the last phase of the park, which will include another second pavilion, kayak launch, a boardwalk along the water, which will be actually, I call it a fishing pier, there will be a boardwalk, the pathway, handicap accessible pathway, and engineering for a total of $1.46 million. That has to go out to bid. I would ask for a resolution to approve the Riverfront Park as presented, and I'll be through Greenway. I will be going to Greenway next Tuesday for the funding.
I make a motion to approve the Riverfront Parkway for park development as presented.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions?
I'm really excited about this, Mr. Supervisor. It's, next to the short-term rentals, this is what I've heard the most from people is having a kayak launch. And, not only a kayak launch, but we're getting a wonderful opportunity for everyone to enjoy the waterfront. You can fish, you can kayak, picnic, and, I can't imagine a better usage of Greenway funds.
Yes, I agree. So we have a motion and a second. All in
I just
favor?
have a question. What is the proposed completion and proposed timeline?
We hope to bid it later this spring and hopefully finish it this year. A lot of that will depend on delivery of some of the equipment, but hopefully by the end of the year.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Also, we need a motion for me to sign permits for the DEC, correct?
It's a joint application for permit. It'll be sent to New York State DEC, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and New York State Department of State. Everybody wants to take a look at what we're doing.
I make that said motion.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Just before you get off your agenda, I did look at this, I didn't realize that the last page of the 14 page, majority of it is just kind of a spec sheet about the company,
Okay.
et cetera. I've looked at it, that contract is okay for you to move forward.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Councilman Jacoby?
I don't really have anything.
Okay. Councilman Morreale, would you like to add anything?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. No, I just wanted to comment on the park. Many years of planning and talks and meetings, and if anybody's been down there, it's beautiful. And as more we do to it, I think the residents will enjoy that. I mean, you go down on a sunny day, it's breathtaking. And when we finish it, I think it'll be enjoyed. The way we did that park, it'd be basically maintenance free, besides cutting the grass for years to come. Between the road, the curbing, the pavilions, it'll be there for a long time for the Lewiston residents to enjoy. But as far as my agenda, no, I don't have anything tonight.
Okay, thank you, Rob. Councilman Myers?
Yeah, just a couple of notifications from the San Juan Historical Society. They have an antique show and sale on March 16th and 17th. 16th from 9 to 4 and 17th 10 to 4. It's a $4 admission for the 2-day event, and basket auction and food available. And then they have the San Juan Historical Society's regular meeting will be on Tuesday, March 26th at 7 p.m. at the Farm Museum. Special program, Antique Dolls down Memory Lane by Citro Buckland. All are invited.
Thank you. Councilwoman Wechter?
I've got nothing.
Okay. Upcoming board meetings. Historic Preservation is March 12th at 5:45. The Zoning Board is March 14th at 6 p.m. Planning Board is March 21st at 6:30 p.m. And the regular town board meeting is March 25th at 6 p.m. And just a reminder, closed April 8th. And our board meeting will be April 11th at 6 p.m. And I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.